Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to our monthly program, ASEAN Community, Challenges and Opportunities. My name is Dr. Wilfried. As you know, I'm a board member of the Human Development Forum Foundation, a Thai-registered foundation running ASEAN Community and strategic programs in English. Today, our main topic is ASEAN Community Social Cultural Pillar. In general, we know all about the ASEAN Community, which is now since 31st of December a reality. However, most of the people talk about the economic pillar or sometimes the security pillar, but rarely people speaking about the social cultural pillar. And this we want to do today a little bit different. We want to focus on the work of international NGOs, especially on child protection. And for that, I invited a specialist and someone who can give us answers to this topic, Mr. Mike Bruce, who is the Regional Communication Manager for Plan International. Good evening, Mike.
Good evening.
And please introduce yourself before we starting with the program.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me here again this evening. I work for Plan International, which works in 14 countries across Asia, including every ASEAN country except for Malaysia, Singapore, and Brunei. Previously, I worked on governance and rights in Pakistan and also worked for an organization that works with refugees on the Thai-Myanmar border and the camps that are there. I've lived and worked in Asia for just over 5 years.
Okay, thank you very much for this short introduction. And now we have a short commercial break before we go into the topic.
มันเป็นขยะแต่รู้ไหมว่าขยะเหล่านี้สามารถนำมารีไซเคิลเป็นสมุดสิ่งที่มีค่าสำหรับพวกเขาได้ด้วยแนวคิดการใช้ทรัพยากรธรรมชาติอย่างรู้คุณค่าและให้เกิดประโยชน์สูงสุดทำให้ดอนเมืองโทเวย์ได้เริ่มดำเนินโครงการสมุดกรีนเวย์โครงการเพื่อยกระดับสิ่งแวดล้อมให้คงอยู่ชั่วลูกชั่วหลานตราบนานเท่านานโทเวย์กรีนเวย์
นี่เป็นความสุขของคนไทยจำนวนหนึ่งที่ได้เข้าถึงสุขภาพที่ดีเข้าถึงการศึกษาที่เท่าเทียมเข้าถึงอาชีพที่ยั่งยืน USO ยังคงขยายโครงข่ายบรอดแบนด์เข้าถึงพื้นที่ห่างไกลอีกกว่า 80% ทั่วประเทศ USO ภารกิจการจัดให้มีบริการโทรคมนาคมพื้นฐานโดยทั่วถึงและบริการเพื่อสังคมโดยกสทช.
Welcome back to our program, ASEAN Community, Opportunities and Challenges. Today we have Mike with us, and without further ado, we just jump into the topic. Mike, what is Plan International?
Plan International is an independent and humanitarian organization that works on child rights. We work in over 70 countries around the world, and we believe in the potential of every child to achieve the most in their lives. Unfortunately, this is often impaired by violence, by discrimination, and by poverty, and we work to help ensure that all children have the opportunity to learn, live, decide, and thrive.
Okay, this is very theoretically. So can you give some examples of work in ASEAN countries, please?
Absolutely, and our work varies from country to country, mainly according to the different economic, social, and environmental circumstances. Again, we focus predominantly on children, and we focus predominantly on children's rights. In a country like Thailand, we focus a lot on minority communities, on the hill tribes communities, but we also do work on birth registration, ensuring that children have the ability to obtain formal documentation so that they're able to go to school, to get an education, to have formal identity. We also do work on child labor in the fisheries, and including education and livelihood work in several areas. In other countries like Vietnam, we have some of our most inspiring programs. We work with children from marginalized groups, mainly in urban environments. In a project called the REACH Project, We work with children in urban slums to help develop their skills in the modern economy, not just general practical skills, but actual skills that can help them get the kind of jobs that they need to get in today's urban environments, in today's urban cities. We also have a suite of programs across the region that work on child marriage, ensuring that children stay in school, that they have the option to choose about their marriage and to finish their education. And finally, I should mention that we play a pivotal role in emergencies and emergency responses to disasters, helping to deliver humanitarian aid, child protection, and core reconstruction to communities that are affected by disasters and natural disasters.
Coming to this last point, and we are talking about ASEAN. Can you tell a little bit about the ASEAN Safe School Initiative and what it is and what is the background?
Absolutely, and the ASEAN Safe Schools Initiative is one of the most exciting regional programs that we have. We do work in several countries across the region, helping to work not just to build safer schools, but actually working with governments, with students and teachers to ensure that the curriculum incorporates ideas of how to prevent disasters, what to do in the event of a natural disaster, to ensure that when communities do face further emergencies, whether it's a massive disaster like the Indian Ocean tsunami or more localized disasters like landslides or flooding, that children know what to do and that they're able to work with their families, their neighbors, and their classrooms to ensure that they can get out safely and minimize the harm that is done in that situation.
And in this context, how is the acceptance of these programs? You have a variety of programs. What is, let's say, the most favorite program? What people like in the communities?
I think people generally appreciate our education work among the top priorities. We have worked in many communities in the region for decades. We've got very, very, very close links locally and on a local level. And people have often seen us work with their children right from preschool, from early childhood education, through their schooling, and then on to see a lot of children who might not have otherwise had the opportunity go on to college and go on to great youth employment opportunities.
And if I look at your websites, there is a big picture of girls on. Does it have any sense behind?
Absolutely. We do recognize that all children struggle with their rights, but we recognize that often it's girls who struggle the most. It's girls who struggle the most to have their own autonomy over their bodies. It's girls who struggle the most to be able to make their own decisions, whether or not it's about their education or it's about decisions about their occupation and to finish school. So we do really prioritize all children, but we recognize that there are a suite of additional barriers and obstacles that girls face in order to lead the kind of lives that they want to lead.
So this is why you have this initiative, Because I'm a Girl.
That's right, and Because I'm a Girl comes out of the International Day of the Girl, which is actually October 11th. It's a UN-recognized day that was enacted at the United Nations, due very much to the lobbying and presence of Plan International. It's a day that we really recognize not just the barriers that girls face, but also the successes that they have, the inspiration that they can bring to us, and the contributions that girls make to their societies.
And what you are doing for parents? I mean, we are talking about education, community. What you are doing for parents?
A lot of work that we do with parents is a lot of advocacy work. So we talk to them about the work that we want to do with their children. We talk to them about why we think child marriage is a problem, not just telling them that child marriage is a problem, not just telling them that this practice that communities may be used to is bad, but actually working with them to understand why their children should be given the kinds of choices that they should, why education should be prioritized, and how it can benefit them overall. But we do also work with parents in terms of livelihood projects. We work with communities to help them develop economic opportunities. We work with a lot of communities in terms of how they can work together to mitigate the impacts of disasters when they happen. And as my colleague will speak to you shortly, we talk to them a lot about what child protection means, why these values are incredibly important, and why parents need to play an essential role in that, and again, not just condemning traditional behavior, but working with them in terms of what kind of behavior, what kind of attitudes we would like to see exemplified in the community.
And I mean, one of the good things looking at your website is that you don't care just about kids, but you have now this youth employment program. Can you explain a little bit what is behind this idea?
Our youth employment programs are some of our most successful programs, and I think some of our most inspirational programs as well. What we really look at is the fact that we've been extremely successful both in Asia and around the world in terms of education, making sure that children finish school, making sure that girls have the opportunity to get an education. But when that finishes, we haven't necessarily all done the work as NGOs, as donors, and as economies to incorporate that education into the economy. So we work with employers, we work with governments, and we work with the children and their families themselves to develop the kind of skills that they need to meet with the kind of success that they dream of in their economies. So in a place like I mentioned our program in Vietnam, our REACH project, we actually have partnerships with a lot of hotels throughout the city, with corporations such as Apple and Accenture, and we work with them to help them define the kind of skill sets that they need, the kind of training that they need people to have, and then work with people in the communities that we work with to help them access those opportunities, both through training and then also through access to opportunity.
Mm-hmm. So in fact, it's a good package, because many of the organizations are just doing training, disappear, and then people are trained but don't have work. So you are looking for the long-term impact.
Exactly, and we're really trying to develop those linkages and those partnerships with private sectors and with governments to ensure that those opportunities are there, and to ensure that we're not training kids and training youth with skills that aren't going to be valuable to them over the long term. We really want to train them to have skills that matches the economy where they live and where they work and where they have opportunity to progress. So that we don't just have kids coming into entry-level jobs. We've actually got youth coming into jobs where they have an opportunity to progress, to build, and hopefully to lift them and their children out of poverty.
So this means we have also a high acceptance from the governments and the ministries of education in this context, correct?
Yes, Plan International is very proud of our close relationships with governments. Because we work at a community level, we have really in-depth links with communities, and this really helps us in our relationships with governments. They recognize the work that we do, they recognize that we approach things from a cooperative and problem-solving perspective, and that we're there to help work on problems that we've jointly identified and help governments work on issues that they've identified as something they want to do and supplement the work that they're able to provide.
Thank you very much. This is a very comprehensive program what Plan International is doing, from the kid to the youth into the work, and in several countries in ASEAN. So the ASEAN cultural community has a good cooperation level with international NGOs, because here is a chance to compensate shortcomings or to even address some problems for marginalized kids, for people for topics like child marriage, for girls' issues, to get the gender balance better done. It was a very impressive point. We have now a short commercial break again, and we are coming back in a second.
Thank you.
มันเป็นขยะแต่รู้ไหมว่าขยะเหล่านี้สามารถนำมารีไซเคิลเป็นสมุดสิ่งที่มีค่าสำหรับพวกเขาได้ ด้วยแนวคิดการใช้ทรัพยากรธรรมชาติอย่างรู้คุณค่าและให้เกิดประโยชน์สูงสุดทำให้ดอนเมืองโทเวย์ได้เริ่มดำเนินโครงการสมุดกรีนเวย์โครงการเพื่อยกระดับสิ่งแวดล้อมให้คงอยู่ชั่วลูกชั่วหลานตราบนานเท่านานโทเวย์กรีนเวย์
ตาอะไรเนี่ยเป็นมากี่วันแล้วคะ
หลายวันแล้วจ้าหมอ
การวินิจฉัยที่รวดเร็วเป็นสิ่งสำคัญด้วยโครงข่ายอินเทอร์เน็ตความเร็วสูงเพื่อสาธารณสุขทางไกลการติดต่อแลกเปลี่ยนข้อมูลระหว่างโรงพยาบาลเครือข่ายสามารถทำได้ทันทีมาถูกทางแล้วล่ะ
USO ภารกิจการจัดให้มีบริการโทรคมนาคมพื้นฐานโดยทั่วถึงและบริการเพื่อสังคมครอบคลุมทั่วถึงทัดเทียมทั่วไทยโดยกส.
Welcome back to our English program ASEAN Community Challenges and Opportunities. Today with Mr. Mike Bruce from Plan International, who pointed out a lot of their important work of this INGO concerning child protection. The general setting is clear. Children are the most vulnerable and children need our help. So against this background, what would be your final statement of the day?
What I would say is I'd like to remind everyone that while children and girls do face tremendous barriers in many communities, both in this region and around the world, that they also bring tremendous potential and tremendous value and tremendous hope to our communities, that our future is rooted in children and in the ensuring that we have equality for girls in all of our communities. And I'd encourage all of your viewers to join us on October 11th, the International Day of the Girl, to recognize that potential, to recognize those contributions, and to also recognize the significant barriers that remain and the significant struggles for equality and for children's rights that we still face.
Okay, thank you very much, Mike. This concludes our program for today. One of the things I would like to say in the end, we were all kids and we think about our parents. So wherever you are today, you have to say thank you to your parents, but also to supporting organizations like Plan International or other organizations helping children to develop to their best opportunities. Today, again, thank you very much for your thoughts. I would like to thank for the team before and behind the cameras and see you next week in the program again. Thank you very much.